Welcome into another edition of The Session with Londa and David. My name's David Austin, and sitting across from me, as always, my beautiful wife, Londa Sherwood Austin. And this whole hiking thing you got cooking today because it's wintertime.
It's casual Friday on not Friday.
It's winter, so, you know, it's a little chilly. So I love it that you're dressed like somebody who's going hiking, and the rust-colored pants that you're wearing today, all just awesome. Everything about it, spectacular.
This has been the fashion report.
But that's not why we're here. This is The Session with Londa and David. It's a program that talks about business principles, customer service, sales, and all the things that make you a successful business owner and or salesperson.
Yep.
And that's exciting for me, as I'm one of the co-owners of Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants brings you this show every week. If your business needs a boost, call Londa Sherwood Austin at 509-491-2663. That number again, 509-491-2663 for Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. You can also email Londa at sherwoodaustin.com.
They can also text.
They can. Yeah. The 509-491-2663 for texting. It's all new to me.
Preferred method.
Anything you can do to say the phone number at least 3 times. That's how you train people.
Trick? That's your magic.
In every 30 to 60 second commercial, the most important thing is the phone number.
Oh.
Because people don't go look it up in the phone book anymore. That's just not a thing.
No.
So there you have it.
Don't most people Google? Oh, Google.
I think
I don't know how it works.
Google post dates my broadcast career.
Right.
So when I was a broadcaster, Google was not a thing.
Ooh.
So yeah, Google.
Would you like your cane, Grandpa?
It's true. We had transistor radios and vacuum tubes that were huge that we had to change out in the 1940s and 50s.
Very different than today.
Yes, very different than today.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't mean to cut off this line of conversson, but I just
But you're
got
going
back.
to.
I am. I just got back from Houston, Texas, where I went to the One Envoy Management Summit. We went, and it was me, Dago Velasquez, Miguel Velasquez, and Rob Lindsay, the 4 guys at the Kennewick Envoy Mortgage office.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, the meaning of the management summit was to lay out the new branding for the company.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, it's not really new branding. It's just the corporate vision and the identity of the company. And I got to tell you something. It spoke to me. It was awesome. The CEO of Envoy Mortgage gets up there and he starts telling us about the goal of the One Envoy Summit. And he says, listen, if we don't do anything else, I just want everyone to know what we do.
Oh.
And the answer isn't mortgages. He said, what we do at Envoy Mortgage is improve people's lives through wealth building, with mortgages, through home ownership, which gives people a sense of community.
Yeah, that's
We improve lives. And I got to tell you something.
That's speaking your language.
I need the heart words. I need the feels, all the feels. And I got to tell you, fully renewed and in love, because our new corporate presence is all about making our customers and our coworkers' lives better.
I love that.
It's the greatest thing I've ever heard at a business summit, and I love it. You know, I've had 3 or 4 different life-changing things happen at these mortgage conferences. They always bring in a great keynote speaker. When I was at Guild Mortgage, we had tons of awesome speakers. The guy who killed Osama bin Laden was one of the speakers.
Wow.
I mean, really, really compelling speakers that make you look at life a whole different way.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what a great keynote speaker does.
That's exactly right. This time, it wasn't the keynote speaker that got me to think differently. It was the CEO of the company.
I bet they'd love to know that.
Well,
you know?
I told him. Good. I walked up to him and told him. So, you know what? If your goal as a business owner is not to improve lives, you need to rethink your goal. Because if you're improving lives, you're going to make money. And the people that work for you's lives will improve. Right. I mean, it's such a beautiful message. So for me, the thing I wanted to talk about, just because I got back from the conference and I'm super excited, was the fact that Envoy Mortgage strives through neighborly connections to improve lives.
Love that.
What a great idea. What a great thought. And, you know, our core is kindness.
It aligns really well with who you are as a human.
I think so. I don't think I've heard a corporate message that spoke as deeply to me ever.
Whoa.
So there you go.
It's pretty awesome.
It was great. It was great. And we all had fun. And we, you know, were up really early going and having, you know, our omelets made by the omelet chef. And thanks to you, my omelet was a lot healthier than it would have been otherwise. I only had one meat, and I had
there you go.
I had fresh spinach folded in, not sautéed and cooked down until it's.
Yeah, you can't cook it first. It's gonna cook a little bit with the heat of the egg. This isn't a cooking show.
No,
but here's a heads up: if you're putting spinach in your omelet, don't cook it first.
Yeah, the omelet chef was like, "You don't want me to cook it with everything." No. When you fold in the cheese, fold in the spinach. And as he was doing it and he saw what it looked like, he goes, this is how I'm doing it from now on for everyone. It just
barely wilts.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And it's not like the slushy spinach that you get out of a can.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you cook it down. It becomes kind of watery, runny.
And this has been the cooking portion of the session.
Well, there you have it, and there it is. No more cooking. No more cooking. Okay, last week when we were wrapping up our show, we talked about the reticular activating system.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned it really quickly. Yeah.
Yes, you talked about something that everybody that I know who's ever bought a new car can relate to. The first time I ever purchased a Saturn. You remember Saturn? They came and went.
Them.
They don't negotiate on price. It is what it is.
Are they not around anymore?
They were in Spring Hill, Tennessee. They're gone. They sold to like General Motors and then they went away. Then they were shut down. I think General Motors. I don't know. That's neither here nor there.
Okay.
But when I bought my first one, I had never really seen them on the road. The day I drove off the lot, I saw them everywhere. I don't know how, but everywhere I went, I saw them. When I bought my first Jeep, everywhere I went, I saw a Jeep and I'd honk and I'd wave. You know what I mean? That is the reticular activating system. Tell us more about it and why it's important.
Yeah, it's super important for business. And the reason that I started finding out more about it is because for 30 plus years now, I've gone to sales training and business conferences and all that kind of thing. It's the largest investment I've ever made in my life is toward those sort of things.
Absolutely.
So, and they would always talk about writing affirmations. And I'm sure you've heard that.
Sure.
You should write affirmations. And it wasn't until I went to this one particular training, and I think it was ninja selling, where I learned the science behind it.
And ninja selling, just for people who don't know, is kind of a real estate sales.
Well, it was,
yes.
And it's the last couple of years been expanding into other arenas. But yes, it started as a real estate sales training.
Yeah.
So they talked about affirmations and they talked about, you want your affirmation to be personal and you want it to be, short. And the reason they talked, and you want it to be specific and you want it to be, whatever. There's all these like guidelines and it's one sentence. And he said, the reason you want it to be short is you're going to write that same sentence 25 times.
Okay.
In the present tense, and then every morning you just write out that one sentence 25 times, be done with it.
So it's active voice. It's like, I am successful.
Mine was, I enjoy earning X number of dollars or more per year.
Okay. And what was the number that you were putting when you first started doing that?
I don't remember.
And the reason I ask is because, your goals grow as you make more money.
Right.
Right? When I was new to sales, I couldn't imagine making $100,000 because on the air as a broadcaster, my best year on the air, I think I made $68,000.
Right.
And I was on, all of the radio stations that had the Louisiana network, and I was on all kinds of different things.
Right.
$68,000, I think, was my best year. So my dream when I started in sales was to make $100,000.
Which is the most common answer I hear when I talk with people about what kind of money would you like to make?
Okay.
100,000. Everybody says it.
And who knew that in the first 6 months I'd make that doing sales?
We're going to come back to that $100,000 number.
Okay. Good.
But
is that close to the number, or were you doing a lower number?
Why are you making me say it?
I'm just curious.
$250,000 or more per year.
Great. There's nothing wrong with that.
It took me 3 years to hit that.
Okay.
So.
And you said it every year until you got there.
Yep. I said it every day.
There you go. Okay.
So anyway, but what I loved is I'd always heard write affirmations. I'd never heard the science behind it. So the reason that you write affirmations is you are programming the reticular activating system that sits at the base of your brain.
Okay.
And think of it like a hard drive. Mm-hmm. It runs in the background of what you do. So one of the examples that Larry Kendall, who taught the class and wrote Ninja Selling, used is, when you're writing this out and you're programming your brain and your hard drive is running that goal in the back of your mind, in the background all the time, then when your buddies in the office want to go out to lunch, you're going to be more apt to say no and call maybe a potential client or a business partner that you want to work with to go to lunch, because going to lunch with your, my girlfriends in the office who are other realtors doesn't always help me make more money.
Unless you're strategically talking about successes.
Yes. And that's why I was very careful the way I said that.
Yeah.
It doesn't always. And so it will, because it basically trains your non-conscious brain to focus on that goal, then you make decisions thinking that you're making just a decision, but really it's that reticular activating system at work that is guiding your decisions.
Okay.
So you're working toward that. That's why you write affirmations.
The power of positive thought. That was a movement in the 70s and 80s.
It was.
All the same. Same stuff.
It's all the same stew.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But now we have the science, and now we have,
we have a stronger understanding of how it works and why it works.
Right. And the idea of it is as old as time. Really.
Yes.
What you think about, you bring about, all that stuff. Right. So, but for me, learning the why behind the what made all the difference.
Okay.
Right.
Because just doing it, you had no buy-in. You didn't.
Well, yeah. I was like, okay, I understand I'm supposed to do this, but why?
Okay.
Why am I supposed to do this?
Yes.
I don't understand. Once I understood, I was literally making my brain think differently.
Right.
Then, oh my gosh, it made all the difference.
Yeah.
So, it's the same kind of thing. You can program your brain to think and see and recognize all the good in life.
Yes.
Or you can program it to see and think and recognize all the bad in life.
Absolutely you can.
And it's all kind of in that same, like I said, in that same stew of thinking. And so the things that you put in front of your eyes and the things that you put in your ears, the things you're listening to and the things you're seeing and what you're putting into your brain and into your soul and into your life, just make sure that they align with what you want from life.
Absolutely.
And I was glad somebody told me to write it like this. I enjoy earning fill in the blank or more per year. They actually gave that as an example. So I didn't have to think of one.
I got you.
And I loved that because I don't want to have to think about that because I'll get all caught up in I don't know if I'm doing it right and maybe it's wrong. And
Sure. Yeah.
So great. Okay. That's the thing. And I have notebooks and notebooks and notebooks filled of that. And I used another technique called habit stacking.
Okay.
To make myself do it.
It has nothing to do with nuns, right? Habit stacking is...
No. It has nothing to do with nuns. I mean, you could, I guess. But so habit stacking is a technique that you want to develop a new habit. So you stack it with an already developed habit.
Okay. Tell me more.
For instance.
Yes.
I won't let myself, I'm on a break from affirmations right now, but I wouldn't let myself have my first cup of coffee until my affirmations were written.
Okay.
Having a cup of coffee in the morning is a habit for me.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another habit I want to develop, which is writing affirmations. So I stacked it on top of having coffee. Right now, what I'm doing, I'm habit stacking with coffee, is cold plunge.
Yes, and I love it.
At least once a week in the pool. Because it's very cold here right now. So our pool is running in the 40s in the water. And it's like in the 20s, low 30s when we wake up in the morning. So at least once a week, doing that cold plunge. But I don't let myself have my coffee until I'm done with the cold plunge. So it's a little bit of habit stacking, and it's also a little bit of, cue and reward,
right?
For anybody who's read the book Habits.
Tomorrow when we cold plunge, I'm jumping all the way in the pool. I'm not walking down the steps. I'm just jumping in.
Well, to each his own.
Aggressive.
So, anyway, that is a little bit more about how to shape your mindset.
Okay.
A lot of being successful in business, and successful in business is your own definition, right? Which is the beauty of what we do.
Right.
But a lot of being successful in business is really programming your brain and the mindset that you find yourself in. And that happens in your time alone with yourself.
Right.
So I think spending time just being mindful with yourself and thinking about what you want and thinking about where you're going and thinking about who you're spending time with, what you're surrounding yourself with, those kind of things are important. And so I love my relationship with you for a lot of reasons, but one reason is you've helped me learn how to rest, relax, and have fun.
Okay.
Because I can work all day, every day, and that's all I do.
Right.
And I did for, a solid 3 years. And then we got together, and I watch TV now. You know what I mean? Like, I have downtime, I have playtime.
Right.
I'm not so incredibly serious about everything all the time. So it's been really helpful for me. And it turns out I wanted more of that in my life.
You've loosened up a lot. You've loosened up a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's awesome. And I got to tell you, when you were very tightly wound and a wildly successful, nonstop, working out at 5 a.m. every day realtor.
At least once a day.
You were fun and funny and nice to be around. You're way more fun and funny and nice to be around today because you have a little recreation in your life. It's not all go, 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 go.
Yeah. And as I've sat and thought about my life in those moments of mindfulness, right, where I'm just alone with myself, letting myself think about what I want my life to look like, it turns out I did want more of that, and I do want more of that, and more balance. Even though I'm a big believer that balance is a big fat lie.
You cannot have work-life balance.
No,
it's not a thing.
And we did a show on that, so we don't need to go all in that. But go back and find that show because it's really good.
It is a good show.
So it's just finding the harmony in the imbalance at times.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to touch on those things. Read a little bit more about the reticular activating system and how it relates to mindset and your life, and also manifestation, which is a big buzzword right now. But manifestation is just all of that we're talking about.
Sure.
And there is the science behind the manifestation is also very fascinating. And again, I talk about her almost every show, but Mel Robbins is a great speaker author to follow on social media. And she just recently did release some information about the science behind manifestation. And so it's just good stuff that everyone should be doing.
The CD and book series, The Secret, came out.
The CD series?
Yes, came out how long ago?
Oh, my God.
Heck.
20 years?
Easy 20 years ago. Yeah. Anyway, Mark Friedel, who was my first owner-operator of the mortgage company that I first got into, the Home Loan Center, which was a division of Man Mortgage. Anyway, he was the owner of the branches, Kennewick and Walla Walla. He gave us, at one annual holiday party, everybody got a gift, and it was a DVD, and it was The Secret.
Yeah.
And we all watched it. And I'll never forget, Greg Johnston and I had an open house, and between customers, we watched The Secret on like a laptop, right? And we manifested someone coming into the house.
There you go.
And buying the house, and Judge Joe Burrows came into the house with his wife, and they bought that house for their son, or they found the house for their son and then bought it. So it really does work.
I know. And the reason that I love is because you can study the science behind it and see why it works.
Well,
and that's why I like it, because otherwise it sounds like a load of horse shit that we're just peddling.
Well, here's the thing.
And it's really not. It's science.
Here's the thing that makes sense to me. If you look for solutions, you find solutions.
It's so true.
If you look for problems, there are no solutions. You just find a bunch of problems. It's all about mindset.
Absolutely.
If you are sure you're going to have a great day, it's really hard to derail a great day. If you're certain your day is going to be crappy, it's really hard to have a good day. You know what I mean?
I do. And anybody who follows me on social media saw recently my post with a picture of a full cup of coffee I dumped into the bathtub.
I saw it.
And
I saw it before you posted it.
Yeah, you did. That day, it started for me so purposefully.
Okay.
I jumped out of bed. I did my cold plunge. I had my mindful meditation. I was like dialed in.
I think we got everything. Spoke after your mindful meditation.
Yeah. Cleaned. I got like my bed made and my and all this stuff. And I was so dialed in, and I got my coffee, of course, after my cold plunge, and I went to take a hot bath. Right. And I get in there, and I take one sip of my coffee, and then my arm bumped it, and it into the tub, and that was it. That was it. I was done. But it didn't affect my day at all.
It didn't derail your day.
I had my, big high hit of dopamine still from my cold plunge, and I had my mindfulness. And I think that's another piece of this is when you are in this life in this way, right? Being mindful, let's call it that, of your state, then the simple little things that kind of go off the rails, they don't affect you as much.
I absolutely agree. And, you and I have talked about my psychology growing up a lot because the way I look at the world is very different than the way you have looked at the world in the past. And you and I can talk about things that have happened in our lives, same exact things, and it's radically different. And because it's all about your outlook, right?
Well, it's interesting. And when you're a child, things that happen to you, you really do not have any control over how your brain interprets that.
Right.
Right. And so I come from a background, a childhood of a lot of trauma.
Right.
And, my brain interpreted things as fearful and traumatic. And as a small child, there's nothing you can do about that except learn how to walk in that, deal with it, walk through it, whatever, later in life.
Yep.
You did have even sometimes a very similar experience, didn't feel traumatic to you at all.
Correct.
And so your brain interpreted it very differently. And this, so if these ideas that we're sharing about the reticular activating system, mindset, affirmations, manifestations, if these seem insurmountable to you, then I would encourage you to do what I've done, and you add one more thing. Ready? Therapy. I mean, honestly, I think that the therapy that I've had as an adult, and especially in the last 5 years, I would say have made all the difference, and really saved me in so many ways.
Yeah. I was listening to an interview on Howard Stern. It's an old interview, but I was listening to it while I was driving in my car. Howard Stern is interviewing Matthew McConaughey about Matthew McConaughey's new book, right? And it's a great example of how people see things differently. Matthew McConaughey is talking about his childhood, where his father would fight them as children if they weren't doing the right thing, right? If you tell a lie, if you like hit them, like punch them. And Howard Stern's like, oh my God, that's child abuse. And you know what? In many circles it is. But for Matthew McConaughey, he saw the physicality in his family as loving. He saw it radically differently. So it's all about perspective is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If
that was a crazy example to use.
Right. But,
I mean, Stockholm Syndrome.
There have been some traumatic things that have happened in my life that I don't see as trauma.
Right.
Like I moved 36 times before my 18th birthday.
Right.
That wasn't traumatic. That was an opportunity to try on new caricatures.
Yeah, you kind of reinvented yourself each time as a survival skill.
Right.
And then you saw it as a positive thing. But you have a really unique, and it's almost, it's really a coping skill.
Maybe.
That you just are ultra positive. You see the positive in everything and everyone, and you have no unkind bone in your body. And
it's like when you tell me a story and you want me to, I don't know what you want me to do, but I end up defending the other party in the story because, well, maybe they had good intentions.
Right. If I tell you about how I've been hurt by somebody, you inevitably will try to shine a positive light on their behavior.
Or try to explain what might be a positive intention. Gone horribly wrong, maybe.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
that's fun to work through.
And this is all in the vein of the reticular activating system.
For sure.
You see things the way you program yourself to see them.
Right.
And if you're seeing things negatively, if you're looking at your business and you're seeing only the bad, lean into the good. Start looking into the good, and some of the bad stuff will go away.
Yeah.
It's magic. It's like I learned as a manager, I'm going to say 15 years ago, not to focus on the negative things my employees brought to the job, but to work on enhancing the positive things they brought to the job.
Right.
And I got to tell you, people are much happier at work and much more productive when you're leaning into the good and you're growing the good.
Yeah, another way to put it is feed the positive, starve the negative.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly right. So this is all very helpful language, even though it sounds like a little psychobabble maybe, right? Because
that's fine if it does. The thing is, even if you think it's, as I mentioned earlier, a load of horse shit, give it a try for 90 days and see what happens.
Well, and you know what? Unless you've looked into self-improvement, unless you've read maybe a self-help book, unless you've done any of that stuff, go into it with an open mind. If you've done it and failed, maybe that's not for you.
Yeah.
If you've never done it and you think it sounds hokey, it is hokey. Guess what? It's hokey. But if you start doing it and it works, holy cow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I mean, what if? What if it does?
I don't know.
What if it will work? What if it does work?
Right. I don't know how many open
Take
houses
that gamble.
I sat in where we actually sold the house, but for some weird reason, Greg Johnston and I, when we were doing that 15 years ago, we were selling a bunch of houses. It was really cool.
That's really fun.
Yeah, it is really fun. All right. This has been The Session with Londa and David. We're here talking about the reticular activating system, which is kind of a really cool topic to me. And if you've ever bought a brand new car, you've experienced it, because I know for sure if you bought a Chevy Equinox, you see them everywhere you go. There you have it, and there it is. The Session with Londa and David is brought to you by Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. If your business needs a boost, no matter how big it is, no matter how small the job is, Londa at SherwoodAustin.com is the email. Londa can help you repair, rebuild, and reinvigorate your business.
Absolutely.
The phone number is 509-491-2663. That phone number again, 509-491-2663. And I guess the last thing I want to say is we are Envoy.
We're just over here improving lives.
This has been The Session with Londa and David. See you next week.